giving us this time today to share on this project, Pili na Moku. I'm actually going to be joined by Oli Karbi here coming up, who's going to talk some more about some of the funding opportunities we have with this project too. But to start, I just want to give a pretty brief overview of what this project is. So one moment while I queue up the presentation here. One second. Okay, almost there. Where'd it go? Sorry, one second. Not seeing it here. Try this one more time. Okay, did I get it? Are you seeing it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, again, thank you very much for having us here. I'm Brad Romine with the University of Hawaii Sea Grant College Program, or Hawaii Sea Grant, located at UH Manoa. I'm joined today by partners in this project at Hawaii Sea Grant, including Tara Farone, who's located in Waianae, our coordinator, located in that Moku. I think Maya Walton's on here. Hi'i Sanchez, I saw. Oli Karbi, who's going to be joining me in this presentation. And I think Ku Tran is on as well, who's an expert among us in resilience hubs, is also now our contact and our partners at NOAA. Hawaii Sea Grant, located at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, we're coordinating a cooperative project called Pili na Moku in close partnership with community groups and government. The project is supporting Aina restoration, Mauka to Makai, connecting communities, providing funding, and building local workforce to reduce risks from natural and climate-related hazards, including storms and flooding, drought and wildfire, and loss of natural and cultural resources. Miku, do let me at any point know if my volume gets weird. It can with this computer at times. I hope to use my earbuds, but I accidentally sent them through the wash the other day and they just fritzed out on me. So
You
I'm trying
sound
to display mental resilience in getting through that.
you sound great, Brad. Keep going.
Okay, thank you. So this is a large, like multifaceted project. But we do see a lot of potential connections with the goals of resilience hubs, networks around resilience hubs, and learning communities like this. So again, thank you for having us here today. The project name Pili na Moku was developed with our partners in this project. It's intended to evoke the interconnectedness of communities, ecosystems, and governance systems across Moku. We build resilience by strengthening relationships within and across the Moku. Holistic resilience efforts implemented from Mauka to Makai are essential to reducing climate change risks. Through this cooperative project, we envision a reinvigorated Moku system applied in a contemporary context to build a resilient future for Hawaii. This requires investing in both the functionality of interconnected ecosystems and of governance systems that balance local place-based knowledge and stewardship with centralized decision-making. Funded through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA's Climate Resilience Regional Challenge, this project is investing an unprecedented $68.5 million in community-based resilience in Hawaii. Project activities will center on 5 moku, or hui moku, in West Kauai. On Oahu, it's Waianae is the moku we're focusing on, and we're also working in Molokai, Central Maui, and Kohala on Hawaii Island. These moku were chosen with our partners because of their high potential to promote Native Hawaiian stewardship and cultural practices in areas that have lacked historic climate adaptation investments. So that's really guiding how we selected the moku for this particular project, at least to start. We aim to build on foundational activities in these 5 moku to support knowledge sharing, collective action, and community-led stewardship across Hawaii. It's a 5-year project. We kicked off in October 2024 and we'll be running through September of 2029. So already a year into it. The project began with 12 partners, including nonprofit organizations, collectives of local resource stewards, state and county agencies, and university, and is supporting more than 20 initial local and statewide projects activities through subawards. We intend this just to be the beginning, as the team will be working to continually expand partnerships, particularly with community-based organizations in the MOCU. Our intent is to work together to build an enduring program and long-term partnerships that will support INA stewardship and cooperative governance of resources for long beyond the 5-year funding provided by NOAA. Might recognize some of the organizations in there, and we do look to add to that partner list as we go along here. A MOCU Resilience Stewardship Coordinator has been hired in each of those MOCU or Hui MOCU, those 5 that I showed on the map. They've been hired for their knowledge and existing connections to the MOCU and are responsible for building Pilina, providing capacity within those MOCU, coordinating across partners in the MOCU, understanding community needs and priorities, and growing partnership and project activities. And as I mentioned, we have Tara Ferrone, who's our Waianae MOCU coordinator. So I hope if you haven't had a chance yet to get to know her at some point. We are, as I mentioned, about 1 year into the project, a little over that, but are still in the early stages of this 5-year effort. Our intention is to work with communities on the ground to understand existing needs and priorities to further shape where resources are directed in the coming years, which is a primary part, again, of the MOCU coordinator's role. Through project subawards, we are also providing sustained support for hundreds of jobs and volunteered service learning positions through partnerships to build local capacity. We are collectively making significant place-based investments in INA restoration and conservation projects in the MOCU through on-the-ground resilience actions for conserving and restoring forests and watersheds, enhancing regional community-based coastal stewardship, and restoring marine abundance. Collectively, we're also investing in and supporting community-centered governance, network building, knowledge exchange, and capacity building in the 5 focal MOCU or Hui MOCU and across Hawaii through these cross-cutting themes of knowledge sharing and strengthening networks across communities, reducing risks and improving disaster resilience, and advancing community governance. The cross-cutting focus of reducing risk and improving disaster resilience includes support for community resilience hubs and networks. There's so much great ongoing work to care for INA and community in those MOCU and throughout Hawaii. Our intention is to support existing priorities and ongoing community efforts rather than bringing in new priorities and project ideas. This is really an implementation-focused project to try to provide funding and capacity to priorities that really have already been identified or being addressed ongoingly in these communities. Pilina MOCU has not included direct financial investment in resilience hubs yet. We hope to. We are working to really kind of understand the lay of the land related to resilience hubs right now. And that's really why I'm so grateful for the invitation to this meeting today. We're working, we understand that resilience hubs can mean different things and serve different purposes for communities. So we're trying to understand those variations among the islands and the MOCU. And I think one of the main things we can provide initially is perhaps extra capacity, extra hands, and networking capacity through our MOCU coordinators and the rest of us working on the project at Hawaii Sea Grant and in our partners. We do have potential funding support through grants opportunity coming up, grants opportunities coming up. And we've set aside additional funding for support to expanding partnerships and additional projects that is being made available through 2 competitive funding opportunities. And I want to pass it over to Oli Karbi with the Pilina MOCU Hawaii Sea Grant team, who's going to share some more about these upcoming funding opportunities. So I'll stop my screen share here. Oli, go ahead and jump in when you're ready. And I hope we can leave some time. We should have some time at the end for a few questions as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Brad. I'm gonna share screen because I also have a presentation. Okay, can you all see that?
It's loading. There is. Yep. Mhm.
Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Hey everybody, thank you so much for having me today. I'm Oli Carby, and I work at Hawaii Sea Grant on this Community Funding Hub's request for proposals. So you're going to hear me say RFP throughout the presentation. Just please keep in mind that that means request for proposals. Thank you for the opportunity to share this with you guys. Very excited. So what are community funding hubs? We intend community funding hubs to be a type of funding intermediary, which are organizations that receive, manage, and redistribute funds, often from federal agencies, foundations, or larger institutions, to smaller community-based groups or organizations. They bridge the gap between funders and grantees, especially when grantees may lack the infrastructure or manpower to directly manage very complex grants on their own. The idea behind the hubs is to take on some of the administrative burden, things like invoicing, reimbursements, reporting, and financial management practices, so that smaller groups and organizations don't have to carry that weight on their own. Additionally, these intermediaries, or hubs, as we're calling them, have the capital to cover upfront costs. So instead of a smaller nonprofit waiting months for reimbursement, the hub can float some of those expenses and keep the work moving. Ultimately, the main intention behind these community funding hubs is to create more access and build capacity so that grassroots organizations can focus on the work itself, which can be restoring Aina, supporting local resilience efforts, or caring for their communities. The goal is for each community funding hub to serve as a localized and culturally grounded center to expand access to funding and support community-led efforts in resilience, restoration, and co-management of natural and cultural resources. This is a list of ideas of what community funding hubs can do, but this by no means is a prescriptive list of action items that every hub must accomplish. So for example, the role of a funding hub can include things like facilitating and managing funds on behalf of smaller orgs, which can be funds from federal and local government, university, philanthropic resources, foundation-based, and other sources of funding. Hubs can also support capacity building, and take on administrative burdens tied to stewardship, climate adaptation, and disaster resilience. And this can mean working side by side with groups on things like proposal writing, budget development, invoicing, reporting, just to list a few examples. Ideally, we would want to see the hubs implement robust financial systems that prioritize timely disbursement of funds, especially for organizations with limited staff and capital. How the hubs will interact with UH will be through a cost reimbursement process, but in the future, how funding flows to the hubs will depend on where the money is coming from, and then how the hub decides to interact with future recipients. I have a slide coming up to break that down a little bit more clearly if that was confusing. Additionally, hubs should be working towards creating strategies to increase access to funds, and coordinating and co-designing funding strategies that reflect MOCU scale priorities like Aina restoration, hazard mitigation, disaster risk reduction, and the co-management of resources. And most importantly, we would really want to see a long-term relationship building between funders and place-based stewards. And lastly, hubs also can offer technical assistance and training to smaller organizations so that they can build up their capacity to manage their own budgets, handle reporting and environmental compliance requirements. But that could be a more long-term goal. That's not something these are not a list of things that we expect every hub to accomplish right away. So with this funding opportunity, Hawaii Sea Grant is aiming to fund 5 community funding hubs, and each organization can apply for up to $300,000 over the course of 3 years. And this funding is meant to help each hub build out their systems and capacity needed to then support other groups in the MOCU. And these hubs are being established with the seed funding and an eye towards long-term impact. So our aim and our vision is that these hubs can build out their systems to then support local organizations for many years and decades to come past the initial 3 years of funding. And the goal is to have the hubs facilitate access to lots of different sources of funding, and really be a long-term fiscal anchor within the MOCU. So this is what I was talking about earlier. For this funding opportunity specifically, the money will flow from UH to the community funding hubs through a cost reimbursement process. But in the future, we envision the funding hubs applying and accessing funds from diverse streams, which can include federal and state dollars, philanthropic funds, and maybe even explore some other innovative models of funding. And how funds flow into the hubs in the future will depend on the funder. And then community funding hubs can then decide how to redistribute these funds to their recipients. For instance, some hubs might choose to use advances to relieve some of the burdens on the smaller grassroots organizations in their MOCU. So as Brad mentioned, the Pilina MOCU project activities are taking place in these 5 MOCU or Hui MOCU. And we aim to establish one hub in each of these 5 regions. And we've been working very closely with our MOCU coordinators to make sure that there is continuity with local resilience and restoration efforts that are already happening in these areas, and to continue to build Pilina across the island. So I just want to mahalo our MOCU coordinators for all their efforts in helping us develop and share this opportunity. In terms of eligibility, we're looking for nonprofits and other community-rooted entities with strong place-based relationships in one or more of these MOCU. We purposely kept this broad because we want to encourage different types of organizations to apply. And we especially want to support organizations that have a history of supporting Aina-focused stewardship, community resilience, and have experience managing grants and building capacity of other organizations. So we encourage nonprofits with a 501c status and experience managing federal funding to apply. And we also encourage the submittal of proposals from collaborative teams. Organizations can choose to apply independently or come together with other organizations. They might have different types of experience and expertise. So for example, if an org has a strong fiscal infrastructure, they might want to partner up with an Aina-based organization with deep relationships within that MOCU so that they can co-lead the community funding hub that reflects both administrative capacity and deep community ties. So we have an optional statement of interest form out currently. The deadline for that is November 21st, so tomorrow. This is just a quick little interest form to see who might be interested in applying, but by no means does any project plan need to be specified or determined at this stage. And then the proposals are open until December 15th at 5 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. And we ask proposals to be submitted through EC Grant. So just a quick timeline. As I said, statement of interest forms are due tomorrow, but those are optional. And if you don't submit a statement of interest form, that does not mean that you're not eligible to submit a proposal. Proposal development sessions are currently happening. We have the next one coming up on December 2nd, where we'll be going over budget development and how to navigate EC Grant for the application process. Then again, proposals are due on December 15th. And then we will go into the review process, and we expect to have the hub selected by February of next year, and with an anticipated start of funding in May of 2026. We also have optional office hours that you can reach us through email at pnmocu@hawaii.edu to schedule any office hours to ask questions. So for the future funding opportunity that's coming up next year, let's actually take a quick little step back. We are here at the Community Funding Hubs RFP, which is happening this year. From this funding opportunity, we are going to have 5 community funding hubs established in 2026. And after that, we don't have a set timeline yet. We're still working on this second RFP, but it will come out at some point next year after the hubs are established. And this will be to fund community-based projects and on-the-ground work. So for this RFP, we hope to see the community funding hubs applying for projects We hope to see other organizations applying for projects, and we would love to see collaboration between the community funding hubs and other smaller organizations within their MOCU applying together to see how the community funding hubs work in action. So that's something that's coming up next year. Again, that's still in development, so we do not have much details on that yet. But keep an eye out for more details, and we'll make sure to share out any information when we have it. So we do have a frequently asked questions document. It's a living document where we update it with any questions we've been receiving from webinars and through emails. So if you scan this QR code here, it'll take you to the site. I can also drop the link in the chat. If you have any questions in the future relating to this funding opportunity, we have addressed so many different types of questions there, so please use that as a resource moving forward. Okay, and now we can move on to the Q&A section. I don't know how you guys want to structure this. We can just ask questions in the chat. I see there's things in the chat already. I haven't been opening it. I'm sorry.
Brad's been covering it, I think.
Okay, great.
Maybe, let's see here. I'll remove the spotlight so we can see each other a little better. Maybe that'll be helpful. Yeah, and we can just open it up. So just to clarify, we have it right. The funding hubs RFP that's up right now, and the interest is for tomorrow, was specifically for Waianae Moku. So anyone who's got connections to that area, or if you're in that area, right? So that's really important. But the one for 2026 might have like maybe broader community or network level, as long as there's this collaboration and supporting piece for Waianae Moku, if I understand it right.
Yeah, that's correct. This funding opportunity right now for the community funding hubs is focused on Waianae for Oahu and then those other moku that Oli detailed in the presentation. But yeah, we would love to come back next year if invited, to share on the next funding opportunity that may be a little more broadly applicable to some of our resilience hubs. Because that'll be more. We haven't even started writing that one yet, so we don't have the details on it. But that second RFP, but it will be broadly focused on supporting resilience actions and community connectivity in those MOCU and beyond. I think we can also support. Again, don't have the details, but support efforts similar to this, where networking and information sharing and knowledge sharing too.
And I just want to add on to that, Brad, that the community funding hubs don't necessarily need to be located in one of the 5 MOCU or Hui MOCU. We are looking for demonstrated experience and strong relationships, existing relationships, and experience working within those MOCU. So that is something that we'll be looking for in the proposals. But the actual organization doesn't necessarily need to be physically located within those boundaries.
Super helpful. Mahalo, Olivia. So yeah, I think we may have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions if they're shorter. So anything else for Brad or Olivia? Thank you for sharing. I think this really it covers that broad range of resilience activities. So it's not just emergency preparedness, right? So that's part of why I think Atalina was and she wasn't able to be here today, but she was the one saying, yes, please come and share this amazing work that is being supported. So any last questions? And then also, did you guys put your contact information in the chat, right? So we can make sure that goes out for people to follow up.
Yeah, will do. And thank you again for having us, Miku, and everybody. Really appreciate the invite and really enjoyed learning from you all in the first part of the meeting too.
Mahalo, Brad. Yeah, I wish it could have. I want to be in each one of those rooms. They're all so good though. Yeah, that's great. We'll send those notes out. Okay, I'll give it another minute. Anyone else? And you've got their email and contact in the chat. Okay. All right. Well, so awesome to see you all. We'll maybe check in about how that format worked, because we switched the order. So we have all the working group conversations were first. Again, working groups, you'll get an email linking us all together, so we can keep moving those things forward. And we'll also have follow-up notes and send out this recording. So thank you again so much, everybody, for December. So we normally meet third Thursdays at 3. That's kind of the rhythm that we're looking at. So the next one, third Thursday at 3, is December 18th. It's one of the only ones we're not gonna have a guest speaker for, because we're gonna use that little half hour to do some of our planning. And actually use some of that time to do nominations and some voting and things like that. But so please come back for that, especially, and we will still have the working groups that meet and are moving these items forward. And then February, I think we're probably looking at HIEMA hasn't yet gotten to present. And I know that they wanted to, and also Red Cross. So probably have them come in, so we get all of our, I guess we start to move our way through all of our resilience supports and then keep going. So yeah, that's everything for today. Thank you all so much, and have a happy family time if you're taking some family time coming up, and look forward to seeing you guys again next time. Well, everybody, take care. Thanks, everybody.
Mahalo.
Thanks, Olivia.
Aloha.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Miku.
Yeah, I'll try to be in your room next time.
Thank you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Marie.
Aloha.
Bye, everybody.
Hi,
Thank
I'm
you.
doing well. Let me
That's
wait.
wonderful. So glad to see you.
Aloha, great meeting, Miku. Mahalo so much. It's
Oh,
just
thanks.
terrific work, and let's chat more.
Yeah, I could stay on for
I sent you.
a minute too, but yeah, Marie, where you go? We wanna invite you to come next time for our CERT and hubs conversation, if you're around. I'll follow up.
Okay.
Oh yeah, did you want to stay on for a minute, Kirsten, to chat?
Sure, if you have a minute.
Sure, yeah. Vivek, thank you. Angel, thank you. And I don't know if Elizabeth, if you're still there. Thanks for coming, Elizabeth. Here, let me stop the recording.